Hi, I'm Kabir Graywal, the Attorney General for the state of New Jersey.
And I am Susan Gibson, the Special Agent in Charge of the Drug Enforcement Administration, New Jersey Division.
We're pleased to join together to raise awareness of the need and importance of understanding and recognizing and addressing the trauma and adverse experiences which impact so many children and teens in our state. Childhood trauma that goes unintended has many negative consequences, including drug use and depression.
We ask that you join us in addressing adverse childhood experiences by implementing the Handle with Care program in your schools and your community to raise awareness of this important and life-saving initiative. Through this program, we have an opportunity to alter the course of a child's life by providing the attention and resources they may need to deal with trauma.
Together, through the close collaboration of New Jersey law enforcement and educators, we can build resiliency in children exposed to trauma.
Together, we can make a difference. Thank you.
Handle with Care is a vitally important program that enables law enforcement officers to communicate with school personnel regarding traumatic events that may have occurred in children's lives. Handle with Care works when responding police officers identify children who have been subjected to traumatic events. Those officers send a simple, confidential message to the children's schools so educators can monitor the child's behavior and offer help to those in need. Trauma impacts children physically and mentally, and the resulting stress can have negative lasting effects on a child's emotional, mental, and physical well-being. This trauma is commonly referred to as ACEs.
ACEs stands for Adverse Childhood Experiences. So children who are experiencing adversity in childhood, whether that's abuse, neglect, or witnessing domestic violence, or living in a home with some substance abuse, may be impacted by these adversities.
It's scientifically proven that children who suffer from adverse childhood experiences are more likely to have a chronic mental, emotional, or behavioral problem as adults. Nearly half of U.S. children had at least one ACE, and 20% experience 2 or more ACEs.
So the Handle with Care program is an innovative program. A child who experiences an acute situation at home, it enables the law enforcement to connect immediately and communicate with the school and with the educators to assist the child getting through this situation.
Every school in America has children who have experienced trauma. Regardless of race, color, creed, or affluence, every community will have some children who have been subjected to trauma. Handle with Care is such an essential program, not only for city school children, but for the children in schools in the suburbs and rural areas. Loss of a loved one, physical and emotional abuse, divorce. These events in children's lives traumatize them, and through Handle with Care, now the schools are made aware that trauma has occurred so they can help the children.
Well, normally the teacher would just think that the child is just acting out, not knowing they just encountered or experienced something outside of school which caused them, to behave the way they are inside of school. So it's our job to advise them and let them know, because some kids shut down depending on the situation. Some of them become aggressive and then they want to fight because that's all they see at home.
One of the cases that I could think back of, a warrant execution. As a child, think about how much more traumatic that would be. So of course, my heart goes out to that kid right away. I speak to the principal, vice principal, whoever's available. I give them minimum information of what the exposure was, what the traumatic event was, and then we'll work together.
And in a situation that's that severe, I go into immediate action. I want to make sure when that student comes through the building that if they need breakfast that morning, I kind of just check in with them. Hey buddy, do you need breakfast this morning? And just make it as natural as possible, and then monitor them once they get to the classroom, touch base with the teacher. I might walk by that room a few more times than normal and check in, see what's going on. The teacher knows that I'm looking, so they'll give me a thumbs up or thumbs down. And we just want to make sure, because again, like Officer Julio said, I can't imagine being in that situation as an adult who's had many life experiences, and to have it happen at such a young age is just tremendous.
What the Handle with Care program does, it gets us to understand why So we're not reacting to the physical reaction of the child, but we're coming to the child with an understanding of why. And once we understand it, then we can better address that child's needs.
Maybe the kid's just coming to school that day, he's having a bad day, he's acting out, looking for some sort of attention. As law enforcement and educators, we need to change our mindset. And instead of always saying what is wrong with this child, it's what happened to him that he's acting out this way. So it totally gives me a different perspective of how I look at kids now, because I feel that kids are not born this way, it's what they're exposed to.
We know that children are very vulnerable. Their brains are developing at a very fast pace, and at the same time, they're very sensitive to any kinds of insults. So with ACEs, we know that it can impact the brain in areas of memory and learning. Long term, we see that it can affect ability to function as adults. And we know that children that are exposed to adversity have a higher risk for cancer, diabetes, mental health problems, and substance use disorders as adults.
Before the Handle with Care program, when children were traumatized by violent events in the home, they often were re-traumatized at school due to lack of communication.
We have to be very careful not to re-traumatize the individual.
A child can be traumatized just by witnessing a crime. A child can be traumatized by hearing a crime. A child can also be traumatized by being a victim of crime. They all have an effect on the children, which is why this program is so important.
As a result of the Handle with Care, there's a sensitivity that comes with the program. How to manage when a student is angry, or how to manage when a student is upset, as opposed to pushing them out and saying, oh, you don't belong here because you may have an attitude, or you don't belong here because you're being disrespectful. We are there to catch that and saying, you know what, we know that right now because of what you experience, you may need a little love. You may need a little time. You may need a lot of support, a different way of doing things today, next week, for a month, but we're here to help you and we're here to support you.
So the Handle with Care programs gets us to silently monitor these students. So now you have all these eyes watching the student and seeing how they act, how they interact with people, and we can better serve them. To me, the Handle with Care program should be called Operation Salvation, right? Because what you're doing is you're actually saving the child with this program.
You can make a difference and change a life by simply sending the Handle with Care notice to the schools.
The form is very simple, probably get it filled out within 2 minutes.
So the form will have like the child name, the grade, the date of incident. We don't give them too much detail. Just know that it was police presence, within their surroundings.
The child's privacy isn't breached. The teachers know that they have to handle the child with care, but the teachers don't know exactly the situation that happened.
The Handle with Care report will go to the principal, who then will give it to our staff, which is the school counselors, the social workers, the teachers, and so they will create a support plan for the student in order to service them.
I think the Handle with Care has really brought the police department and the schools together. We didn't have much communication before. We didn't know what they were doing. They don't know what we're doing. To see these children at home at night in an adverse situation, and then to have to see what they're dealing with in our buildings, has just made a great connection between the two, so that now they're putting together the whole child, and we are as well.
The Handle with Care program is a preventative measure for us to prevent children from going down the wrong path in life.
If we intervene early and we help children during the time when they are first experiencing a trauma, helping them to understand what happened, give them the support that they need, then we may be able to prevent the hardwiring of the brain in a way that's not functional, that's pathologic instead of helpful to them. And so we can perhaps prevent some of those long-term health consequences, including substance use, depression, cancer, diabetes, all of those things.
So I think it's going to deter them from alcohol use, drug use, because they're exposed to it at an early age, that hopefully this program will be a way to prevent them from falling into those traps.
Having the Handle with Care program allows us to build relationships more with the officers, relationships more with the administration and the teachers. And we know from research that relationships with positive adults is a very big preventative factor in students doing things when they get older that are unlikely to produce success, such as drugs, alcohol, and criminal activities. So this is just like the baseline of creating those relationships and having good role models.
I feel that we need to really push as a country, and we need to feel comfortable with it and own it. I think physicians law enforcement, teachers, we all need to own it and be a part of the solution. And we now know some ways, some pathways to get there, and we're learning more and more every day.
Handle with Care can have a far-reaching impact for the entire community. Our nation's future health and strength depend on it. Please be a part of this life-saving effort. Thank you.